Hey guys, welcome to my first furniture flipping video. In this video, I'm transforming this cheap dresser into something more modern and durable. Let's get down to it. I started with cleaning up the dresser and removing the hardware. There were lots of crevices that needed to be filled with wood filler, which I did afterwards. Once dry, it was time for sanding. I started with sanding the top and took a tea break after 2 minutes. The sanding revealed a beautiful top with great grain structures, which you couldn't really see before because of all the dirt. From the top to the bottom, I worked my way down, starting with the sides on the top, to the front legs, then to the sides. It took a while to remove all that dirt. When it started to get dark, it was time to call it a day. So I moved all my stuff to a different location, a bit more out of the wind. It's about 3 degrees right now, close to freezing, but it's nice. The sun is shining. Let's get some shit done. The next day I started with sanding the top of the drawers and hand sanding the sides of the tops and the edges. I also put quite some time in sanding the drawer frame, which is probably a bit overkill, but whatever. So I was working on these drawers yesterday and I noticed that with this one the front is coming off, and there are 1-2 others where it's not coming off but it's loose. So my dad gave me these ones to try and pry them off. If you look closer, they have been stapled on, so I'll gently try to pry them off. And I think I will glue them back on again. Oh, is hij beschadigd nu? Oh, fuck. Ja, ik weet het niet, man. Maybe I will not pry them off. I'm not sure. I have to think about this a little bit. The day after, I decided to sand the bottom part of the legs, as they were a bit crooked. While working on these, I decided that I didn't like the shape of the small triangles that were attached to them. I found the lines too straight, especially for the design that I had in mind for this dresser. So I started filing down the first triangle, which didn't go smoothly, as you can see. And halfway through I discovered that they were also nailed to the bottom part, so I decided to leave them be. Problems for later. Update on the drawers. I will not pry them off anymore using these fucking things. Instead, I will be using these screws to screw them on. So I will not pry them off, I will not glue them back on again. I will let them be as is, but reinforce it with some screws. Saves me some time. Let's do it. I pre-drilled the holes for the screws before screwing them in, as I wasn't sure if the wood would crack. The next thing I did was cutting bamboo into rings. Why, you might ask? You'll see near the end of this video. Sawing the bamboo left a lot of splinters or fibers, so I tried taping them in to stop this from happening. And it worked, mostly. So now I just had to tape around all the bamboo that I had to cut. The rings started to pile up in the tray I was using, so I got a bigger one. Of course, when I was done cutting the bamboo into rings, I had to remove all the tape that was on there. Have fun, dude. So, I can put an endless amount of work into these drawers because they're so cheaply built, which I won't. It's not worth the time, not worth the effort, and I don't think it will drive up the price that much. So for now, I think I'll just paint them and then move on to the next thing. I picked a brush and got to work, trying to create an even coating, but to no avail. So, my parents got me this sanding machine for my birthday 2 days ago. Love you guys. Which of course will come in very handy for all these bamboo rings that I've got. Not to mention for these hardware pieces that I'm making. So I started sanding off all the small fibers sticking out of the bamboo, piece by piece. Which again took some time as I had quite a lot of them. Next day I got back to painting the second layer of paint on the drawers. I used a roller this time as I was not all too happy with the result I got with the brush. If any of you got any tips on how to get an even layer of paint with the brush, please let me know down in the comments. Back to the bamboo rings. I decided to spray paint them white so they would stick out more once fixed to the matte black drawers. Paint didn't fully cover the rings, which I like because now you can still see what material they're made of. So then it was time to stain the dresser itself. I wiped off the dust, but then I was just about to stain the wood when I discovered all these sanding marks. I guess I'll just go back to sanding again. Fortunately, it didn't take too long. I taped off the parts that I wanted to stain in a different color and got to work. I used a white colored sustainable stain for the top and the sides. Once it was dry, I'd lightly sanded it down and removed the tape, which is always a satisfying part of the process. I then taped off the white stained parts so I could stain the rest black. The second layer I did with the roller again so I could get a nicer finish. And now for the most satisfying part. Then I decided that I didn't really like the result. I found the contrast in color too big, so I went with something else. I started staining the top black on top of the white layer. It looked pretty dope while still wet and shiny, but it was not the look I was aiming for. I wanted the grain to be visible, so I lightly sanded the black top coating away. Much better, right? Now it only needed a protective layer, but it got too dark outside, so I moved everything inside. I used a sustainable matte transparent wax oil to give it more durability. But there was still something missing. That's right, the bamboo rings. I started off by making a circle with the largest pieces. Once I was content, I glued them to the drawers. I worked my way outward and continued this process with the smaller pieces. Last one. Alright. And this is the end result. It's a bit different than what I had imagined, but I must say I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Of course there were some bumps in the road, but I managed to avoid driving into them. Because the drawers are so crooked, I wanted to go with a design that takes your attention away from that. This white circular design on top of a black background achieved this pretty well in my opinion. I wanted hardware that didn't interfere with the art on the front, so I went with these round black knobs that fade away into the background. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Any advice, tips, ideas would also be welcome. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Cheers!